Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the entrance of the academic party and the Chancellor.
I declare that the 494th Convocation of McMaster University for the conferring of degrees is now in session.
Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to take your seats. Good afternoon. I am Eileen Bush-Vishniak, the Provost and Vice President Academic of McMaster University. This afternoon, I have the pleasure of acting as your Master of Ceremonies and of welcoming all of you to Convocation. Before we start our formal program, may I first ask everyone in this hall to switch off any electronic device that may bing, bong, or buzz in the next couple of hours. Thank you. We begin with our Chancellor, Dr. Linton Wilson, making some welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Madam Provost, President, Vice Chancellor, Dean Kane, Honorary Graduate, members of the Platform Party, graduands, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to this 494th Convocation of McMaster University. To those graduating, you've reached an important milestone, an exciting milestone in your lives. Many of you will begin careers, embarking on new journeys. Some of you will be continuing your education, training, or preparation for more advanced or specialized activities. To the parents, grandparents, family members, spouses, and friends here today, you may bask in reflected glory and take pride in the accomplishments being recognized in this convocation. To our faculty and staff, today marks tangible recognition of your efforts, particularly the successes of your students evident in this ceremony. I wish you all an enjoyable afternoon.
I would like now to introduce Dr. Patrick Dean, President and Vice Chancellor, who will be presenting our honorary degree recipient.
Mr. Chancellor, by the authority of the Senate of McMaster University, I have the honor to present the Right Honorable Paul Martin. The Right Honourable Paul Martin was the 21st Prime Minister of Canada and its Minister of Finance before that. His efforts as a public servant have contributed to the Canadian economy and financial security, to social and cultural equality, and to Canada's role in the global community. Following a distinguished career in the private sector, Mr. Martin entered public life, where he became one of the most influential figures in Canada, beginning most notably with his distinguished service as Minister of Finance for the federal government. His work in making significant structural changes to the Canadian economy created both prosperity and the foundation that would prove so valuable in managing through future economic downturns. He led the government's move to erase a $42 billion deficit in 4 years, subsequently recording 5 consecutive budget surpluses while paying down the national debt and setting Canada's debt-to-GDP ratio on a steady downward track. He also introduced the largest tax cuts in Canadian history and the largest increases in the federal government's support for education, research, and development. In conjunction with his provincial counterparts, he restored the Canada Pension Plan, securing it for future generations. He also strengthened the regulations governing Canada's financial institutions, with the result that Canada is now viewed as an international model for sound financial regulation. As Prime Minister, Mr. Martin established a legacy of supporting and building the conditions of social and cultural justice across Canada. He set in motion a 10-year, $41 billion plan to improve healthcare and reduce wait times. He signed agreements with provinces and territories to establish a national early learning and childcare program. He created a new financial deal for Canada's municipalities. Under Mr. Martin's leadership in November 2005, the Canadian government also reached an historic consensus with Canada's provinces, territories, First Nations, Métis and Inuit leaders that would help eliminate the gaps between Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal Canadians in the areas of health, education, housing and economic opportunity. Further, he introduced the Civil Marriage Act, which redefined marriage to include same-sex couples. Since leaving public office, Mr. Martin has helped raise awareness for the development of African economies and currently co-chairs a $200 million British-Norwegian Poverty Alleviation and Sustainable Development Fund for the 10-nation Congo Basin rainforest. He also co-founded the Capital for Aboriginal Prosperity and Entrepreneurship Fund, an initiative designed to further economic independence and entrepreneurship for Aboriginal peoples. Mr. Chancellor, the Right Honourable Paul Martin has dedicated himself through business leadership, volunteering and public service to helping Canada become the nation that we aspire to be. He is and has been the leader of our country, both in office and by example. I ask, Mr. Chancellor, that you confer upon him the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
Paul Martin, by the authority of McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to confer upon you the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, in McMaster University, with all the rights and privileges pertaining to that degree. Congratulations. Come and sign the roll. Okay. Come with me.
Yes, I did. Souvenir.
Mr. Chancellor, by the authority of the Senate of McMaster University, I have the honor, as the acting dean of the Faculty of Social Science, to present Harry Weissglass. Professor Harry J. Weissglass is a prominent and highly respected labor economist, mediator, arbitrator, and labor relations consultant who was the founding director of the Labor Studies program here at McMaster University. Professor Weissglass's roots in labor relations go well beyond his days as a university professor. As a young man, he organized impoverished garment workers in Toronto as he worked to put himself through school. After completing his Bachelor of Commerce degree, Professor Weissglass moved to Ottawa to work as a researcher in the Department of Labor. During that time, he became the first president of the Department of Labor Employees Association, and in that role negotiated the first grievance procedure in the federal public service. This groundbreaking victory opened the door to achieving collective bargaining rights for all federal public employees. Upon completion of his master's degree, Professor Weissglass worked in a number of labor-related capacities, including as research director with the Amalgamated Clothing Workers of America and with the United Steelworkers of America. He later returned to Ottawa to work with the Special Planning Secretariat of the Privy Council Office, and within a year, he joined the Department of Labor as Director General of Research and Development. In 1974, Professor Weissglass had the opportunity to create a multidisciplinary education and research unit when he helped found McMaster's Labor Studies program, a program that would distinguish itself from the industrial relations institutes that were traditionally rooted in business, law, and economics. McMaster's new program focused primarily on the humanities and social sciences. At the time, this approach was an innovation in the study of labor relations and management. Under Professor Weissglass's direction, McMaster's Labor Studies program expanded into a unique educational environment, starting with specialized training courses for various national and international unions, a publication program, degree courses, and eventually a full-fledged undergraduate and graduate degree program. In addition to his contributions to the academic field of labor studies, Professor Weissglass has produced a number of outstanding achievements in labor relations practice. Even after joining McMaster's faculty cohort, he continued to break new ground as a mediator of high-profile public service union management conflicts. In 1980, he worked with the Ontario Crown Employees Grievance Settlement Board to develop the innovative practice of mediation, a practice which has since become an integral part of the grievance procedure in many collective agreements and has thus expedited the resolution to many individual disputes while also contributing significantly to the overall evolution of union management relations. Mr. Chancellor, Harry Weissglass is a pioneer. His contributions to the field of labor relations, especially here at McMaster, have advanced both the work and the academic analysis of collective bargaining and labor negotiations. Mr. Chancellor, please confer upon Professor Weissglass the well-deserved degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa. Professor Weissglass was unable to attend today's ceremony, so in his stead, I invite his son, David Weissglass, to join me here on stage.
In absentia, by the authority of McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to confer upon Harry J. Weissglass the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, in McMaster University, with all the rights and privileges pertaining to that degree. Congratulations to your father.
Thank you very much.
It is my pleasure to call on Dr. Martin to deliver the convocation address. Dr. Martin.
Well, thank you very much, Chancellor Wilson, President Dean, Dean Kane, members of the faculty, ladies and gentlemen, for the honor that one of Canada's foremost institutions of higher learning, McMaster University, has bestowed upon me. But let me as well, and most importantly, congratulate you, the graduates, who have worked so hard to get here. This is your day, and I am very grateful that you have allowed me to share it with you. Now, I've been asked to speak to you about the challenges that await you in the years ahead. I have been given, however, but 7 minutes in which to do so. I was told that if I went on too long, I would not get the honorary degree. It has just crossed my mind that they have given it to me. And so I may go along as I can go along as long as I want. But I'll try to stay within that limit. And I hope, therefore, you'll understand if I miss a couple of challenges. I hope you'll understand as well if I name only one, in fact. One, however, that some might argue covers them all. It is, as you look ahead, don't miss the paradigm shift. Now, what's a paradigm shift, you will ask? Well, for me, it is a shift that so changes the nature of the game that the old rules no longer apply. For instance, the rise of China and India over the recent decade was clearly a paradigm shift. In 1973, about 8 years after graduating from university, my wife Sheila and I went to China for the first time. It was at the tail end of the Cultural Revolution, which, as you know, had brought that country's progress to a grinding halt, which led most people to write China off, to dismiss its potential as a significant economy for generations to come. A few years later, I revisited China, this time during the reign of Deng Xiaoping, who had in fact been imprisoned during the Cultural Revolution. He was now China's leader, and he was setting his country on the course that would make it what it is today, the second most powerful economy in the world. Now that's quite a paradigm shift for any country, especially for it to happen in little more than one generation. Now the question is, did that paradigm shift affect the world beyond China's borders? Did it affect your parents' lives who are here today? And the answer is, of course it did, and far more deeply than most of us realize. So the next question that I would put to you is, looking ahead, are there similar shifts that could affect you as your careers unfold? And once again, I believe that the answer is yes. And what might those paradigm shifts be? Well, that's something that you may want to ask yourselves, if only to make sure that you prepare yourselves and that you get a step ahead. And in that context, I would like to suggest to you two possible shifts that you might want to think a little bit about. The first is comparable to the rise of China. It's Africa. And if that surprises you, I would simply ask you to remember that no one in the 60s, during the Cultural Revolution, would have predicted the incredible economic turnaround that China has seen. Now, clearly, one of the reasons for China's rise was its capability to build on the abilities of its massive growing population. Well, let me just say to you that in 2030, which isn't that far off, Africa will have a population greater than either China or India at that time. And this will not only be the largest agglomeration of people anywhere in the world, even more significantly, it will be the largest proportion of young people to be found anywhere in the world. All of this to say that if the right steps are taken, I believe that there is no reason that Africa, where I spend a lot of time, cannot become the world's engine of growth comparable to what China and India are today. My second example of a paradigm shift that should occur during your lifetime, but is still only on the horizon, lies closer to home. In too many instances, Canada's Aboriginal peoples, the First Nations, who were not that far from here in the Six Nations Reserve as an example, the Métis Nation and Inuit people of this country, who are the youngest and the fastest growing segment of our population, live in conditions that you would not expect to see even in the poorest regions of the Third World. And in truth, they are being left behind by a healthcare and education system that is failing them, and by a country that has forgotten them. So what's the paradigm shift here? Well, I believe it is that we as Canadians do whatever is necessary to ensure that the next generation of Aboriginal young becomes the generation of real and positive change. The generation that breaks the cycle of poverty, the generation that stays in school, the generation that is given the tools to succeed. Now, you'll note that both of the paradigm shifts that I have outlined here, despite the fact that one will occur outside of our borders and the other within, have a great deal in common. Both will arise because of a huge poverty gap, one between Africa and the rest of the world, the other between Canada's Aboriginal people and the rest of the country. In both cases, the pressure to act will come from overwhelming increases in population. And finally, in both instances, they have one more thing in common, and I believe that this is incredibly important. Both paradigm shifts are the challenges of your generation, for both require you to act if they are going to happen. If Africa is going to overcome its issues, a revolution in governance, in education, and in healthcare is required. And the continent needs partners for this to take place, and it is here that Canada, your country, must lead. It must lead for moral reasons, because the gap internationally between the rich and the poor, which is growing, is simply unacceptable. It's immoral. But Canada must lead for economic reasons as well. As Chancellor Wilson has said on many occasions, we are a wealthy country, but our domestic market is simply too small to sustain our standard of living. If we're going to penetrate the new markets of the world, then we must begin when they need us, not just when we need them. In the case of Canada's Aboriginal people, the economic argument is every bit as pertinent. At a time when Canada's 34 million people are staring down the barrel of new and tough competition from the gigantic populations of China and India, it is clear that we cannot afford to let one talent fall by the wayside, and yet that is what is happening by the thousands upon thousands. But that being said, and if I say one thing here today that I would hope you would take away with you, it is that I hope it is the moral argument that you regard as the more important. We tell the world about our values as Canadians. As the President said, I spent a lot of time in Africa talking about what we believe in this country. But what does it say about our commitment to those values when they're not even fulfilled within our own borders? As a people, we have too long lived with a willful blindness, offering silent consent to the denial of opportunity of the youngest and the most vulnerable segments of our population, perhaps believing that if we don't pay attention, well, then it won't affect us. Well, let me tell you, it will. How can we present ourselves as an example abroad when the world can see how we treat those at home who most need a measure of social justice and the opportunity for a better life? How can we be example at home or abroad when we refuse to honor the traditions and the beliefs and the sense of worth of those who occupied this land long before the ancestors of most of us ever even knew it existed? Well, that's how I see it. Two paradigm shifts, one within our borders, one without. Now, why have I suggested them? I have because both have to come into being. Both must come into being. For our world, I believe, will not hold together if they don't. The only question is, will we as Canadians let the doors of fairness and opportunity close before us, or will Canada lead? And even more to the point, will you lead? This is an important day for you. It's an important day for your parents, an important day for your relatives, your friends, all of whom are here to cheer you on. And I think you're perfectly within your rights to ask, why have I, on this day, which is the result of your hard work and dedication, not mine, why would I have the nerve to raise the possibility of even greater challenges for you who have overcome so many? Well, the answer is because your day is an important day as well for Canadians right across the country. Canadians who in the years ahead will look to you for your leadership in the public service, in business, in the professions, in the science. They'll look for your leadership in whatever it is you do. And this because your graduation today in itself is a paradigm shift. And the opportunities that lie before you are now greater than they have ever been before in your lives. And that you will conquer the known world, there is no doubt in my mind or in the mind of anybody on this stage. But even more to the point, your challenge is to conquer worlds that are not yet known. That's what Mac has given you the capacity to do. And I got to tell you, do I ever envy you? So do well and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Martin. Two qualities that Paul Martin has always shown, and I've known him for many years: passion and commitment. And evident in his remarks today, everything he has done in his business life, family life, political life, and now post-political life, dealing with bigger issues, have been pursued with passion and commitment. And Paul, we're delighted to have you here as an honoree, delighted now to have you as an alumnus, Dr. Martin of McMaster University. And thank you very much for your words this afternoon. Congratulations.
We now come to that part of the program for which many of you have been waiting for a number of years. I invite Dr. Patrick Dean to come forward to present the graduands to our Chancellor for admission to their degrees.
Graduands, will you please rise? Mr. Chancellor, on behalf of McMaster University Senate, I present to you these candidates in order that you may confer the appropriate degrees and diplomas upon them, and I bear witness that they are worthy and suitable.
Graduands, by my authority and that of the McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to admit you to your individual degrees in McMaster University with all of the rights and privileges pertaining to those degrees. My sincere congratulations to you all. Please be seated.
Mr. Chancellor, on behalf of McMaster University Senate, may I also request that you confer the appropriate degrees in absentia upon all those candidates who have successfully completed the required course of study, but who are not present.
I declare all these degrees conferred in absentia.
Graduates, I now ask each of you to join me on the stage so that the Chancellor and I may welcome you into the McMaster community of scholars.
Ladies and gentlemen, it would be appreciated if, during the presentation of the graduands, you would hold your applause to the end of each degree category. Thank you. Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Doctor of Philosophy. Sasha Ann Gear.
Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts, Honors. Daryl Abbs. Anela Amitovich. Nezreen Ali. Kwame Giamfi Asante. Lynn Bao. Jessica Barrett. Jenna Leanne Bellamy. Robin Bennett. Kristen Bland. Daniel Boccoccio. Michael Bodkin. Matthew Barukas. Kelly Elizabeth Brown. Michael Callahan. Amanda Caltagirone. Jennifer Catanzaro. Dixon Chun Ming Chan. Vicky Chakung Chow. Chun Fu Chu. Sin Yi Chu. Victor Sickman. Ryan Sino. Sergio Colabufalo. Vanessa Ann Colasanti. Michael Cooley. Colin Cooney. Mackenzie Gordon Cotter. David Cox. Amanda Crescenzi. Jennifer Cruson. Tiffany D'Angelo. Daniela Ketan D'Ignazio. Stephanie De Silva. Kechi Amra Christina de Alams. Philippe Danjan. Anthony DeFeo. Sundip Danjal. Sophia DeRolia. Sabato Di Filippo. Katie Di Donatio. Gotze Dimitrievsky. Jovana Dimitrovich. John Downs. Amber J. Dubois. Julie Ann Margaret Edwards. Tariq El Sayad. Salma Imam. Lisa Marie Ems. Mark Evans. Naomi Elizabeth Fast. Sarah Feary. Joseph Alexander Felici. Marco Felici. Lisa Fiorino. Michelle Forrester. Matthew Fergal. Annalisa Garcia. Sylvia Gergis. Dingran Gao. Nicole Elise Hanna. Courtney Amanda Hartwick. Stephanie Ann Hawk. Mariam Haya. Derek Hisson. Tracy Hong. Melissa Christine Humulis. Michelle Joan Carlton Rabi. David Gerard Hurd. Amy Hughes Jones. Garrett Hunt. Jungwook Jang. Marta Jasmine. Jaeyoon Jin. Jennifer Jones. Melika Kablar. Kate Cleefstra. Amanda Klee. Penny Kutska. Won Tang Quan. Juliet Keisha Lagadu. Stanley Lamb. Joshua Lando. Cassandra Latanzi. Danielle A. Lee. Michael Lee. Marie Kimberly Tan Lim. Kelly Ann Lorscheid. Sarah Christine Lowe. Tiffany Lynn Lozon. Matthew Lubanovic. Jun Yu Lau. Xavier Luxembourg. Kylie Marie McInnes. Stephanie Caitlin Magis. Tyler Ryan McCrone. Anjali Magee. Alex Medley. Mina McHale. William Stephen Miller. Shannon Mitchell. Pearl Yin Mok. Jessica Jean Margaret Suzanne Monai. Marta Montero Diaz. Ryan Monara. Megan Bree Colleen Moriarty. Remington Powell Mossy. Melissa Catherine Alta Mermack. Nicholas Mucci. Laura Ann Murphy. Elizabeth Murray. Francis J. Murray. Bashira Mustafa. Mark Bradley Neal. Danielle Jacqueline Nelich. Radik Navrodka. Francis Obiora Najin. Lin Nagayan Dang. Christopher Ortiz. Jake Andrew Paddle. Stefan Panache. Amber Margaret Pellerin. Nayada Perahana. Sylvia Pena. Huin Pham. Sean Pittman. Leslie Powell. James Robert Ellis Piet. Muhammad Rafiq. Ozar Ramik. Ahmad Saad. Sasha Safai. Jose Osai Safai. Mark Salemi. Carolyn Satov. Devin Schaefer. Nadia Savetti. Nathan Mark Shaw. Michael Rael Sherman. Jesse Shim. Nick Shorten. Umavir Singh Sidhu. Melinda Spry. Shoyan Su. Alan Tan. Kristen Lee Taylor. Hugap Terzian. Samantha Thompson. Vanessa Vitucci. Andrew Vuck. John Wang. Christopher Kenneth Watson. Tom Whitreck. Nahid Yakubian. Kirk Alexander Zadin. Yao Zhang. Ningjing Zhu. Let me know when. Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Kinesiology, Honors. Lawrence Abbott. Ashley Marie Barker. Nicole Beatty. Kevin DeHollander. Devaney Charlene Teresa D'Souza. Natalie Defoe. Evan Hesketh. Joshua Cradle. Elizabeth Ann McLaughlin Luff. Byron Metcalf. Matthew Parasini. Brennan Lee Rurink. Marky Rose Reichman. Andrew Michael Smith. Karen Louise Thought. Kylie Thompson. Cora Jean Alice Rowe Tomowich. Alicia Katarina Witter. Omar Naki. Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Kinesiology. Elizabeth Irene Hawkins Carter. Lauren Rurink. Mr. Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts. Zishan Ahmed. Nicole Beverly Allen. Samuel Anyan Wataka. Kristen Brown. Victoria da Fatima Cabral. Robert Carlton. Japinder Chagar. Gurtej Chandi. Madia Daoud. Carrie Roseanne Davron. Diraj Dul. Nancy Dong. Amanda Eberhard. Marie Lucia Evans. Olajipe Falamiyu. Marcus Fortino. Laura Marie Futino. Marco Grimaldi. Adrian Guerin. Laura Gaducci. Karen Angela Hansen. Aaron Holborn. Erica Jeanette Ireland. Richard Jarvis. Hamali Shannon Jayawardana. Rita Castrati. Tomislav Kejalj. Ji-Yun Kim. Justin Michael Korolik. Marcel Robert Lafontaine. David Ronald Lark. Wilson Chun Hong Lau. Laura LeBlanc. Toby Shung Lam Lung. Kihui Lee. Samantha Mackenzie Lee. Michelle Lee. Gofang Lin. Stephen Lombardo. Michael Lubanovic. Chung Hang Mak. Susan Michelle Malcolmson. Nicole Manion. Lee Martin. Benjamin Mazzata. Kenneth Stephen McDonald. Paisley Patricia McNabb. Giovanna Meme. Romit Alexander Mitra. Firas Hussein Mullah. Shanice Louise Morrison. Maksud Matala. Kevin Murphy. Hee-Jin Myung. Katie Nagoyan. Min Nagoyan. Natasha Nejovan. Deanna Pan. Alexandro Papanastoloveros. Chun Yin Poon. Lisa Porco. Juan Q. Mahinor Raghav. Sean Rahman. Stephanie Marion Rathwell. Ian Russell. Jumi Mary Sakaba. Genevieve Setiawan. Rachel Simons. Jason Skenderis. Alexander Anastasio Sklivas. Christine Amanda Smith. Tyler Smith. Lechusoma Somasundram. Liana Spada. Alexander Michael Xavier Steiner. Caitlin Leanne Wilson Storton. Ryan Strum. Jonathan Jerome Tjerkstra. Vanessa Toe. Jeffrey Tran. Jennifer Waifu Su. Matthew William Carl Van Klink. Carolina Vittorino. Eric George Walker. Peter Wong. Rami Yahia. Jovita Young. Junzi Zhao.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to introduce you to Mr. Nathan Shaw, a graduate of the Bachelor of Arts Honors Program, who will be delivering the valedictory address.
Thank you, Madam Provost, Chancellor Wilson, President Dean, Dean Kane, faculty and staff, family and friends, and most importantly of all, my fellow graduates. Congratulations. That's right. It truly is a remarkable day for those of us who have made this journey. and for those who have helped get us here. I know that each of us here today has our own unique story, a story of success, a story of struggle, a story of seemingly insurmountable odds. But most of all, today represents a story of collective success. We did it. As we naturally look back, we must be clear in our thinking, however. This is not the end. Our experience in the Faculty of Social Sciences at McMaster has allowed us to find out not only who we are, but most importantly, who we want to be. So therefore, today truly is a beginning. Today in 2011, as the world around us appears increasingly complex, I believe that a social science education has never been more important. As social scientists, what unites all of us here is our collective passion for the study of society, human action, its implications, and its consequences. While others have often focused on how, we've asked why. While others have sometimes focused on whether or not they could, we've often stepped back and asked whether or not we should. With our profound knowledge comes profound responsibility. Ask yourself something. Just what kind of world do you really want to live in? What kind of society do you want to share? McMaster has equipped us to be citizens that are not passive or indifferent. We must be active and we must be engaged. This has been about much more than writing essays, midterm tests, essays, presentations, and a few more essays. It's been about the experience together. What we have learned has been just as important as who we have learned it from and who we have done it with, each other. We've all been privileged to have courses with so many bright, passionate, distinguished professors who inspire us to use the knowledge we've gained to better ourselves and society. They taught me that asking the right question can be just as important as getting the right answer. Those here today who feel great pride in our accomplishments, parents and family, faculty and staff, friends and mentors, are the very people who know best of all that we have not reached this podium and stage alone. Our accomplishments have been built by those who supported and guided us along our journey, often never seeking the recognition they deserve for what they've done. So today, we say to all of them, thank you. Thank you for believing in us through good times and bad, and knowing all along that we could do it. Indeed, today is as much about others as it is about ourselves. In my own case, I wouldn't be here without the unwavering support and love from my mother and father. Through ups and downs, my mom has always been there, no matter what, always telling me that yes, I can. She's the strongest, most selfless person I've ever met, and she taught me firsthand the importance of not only having a heart, but the importance of following it. So thanks for everything, Mom. My dad's passion for life was simply unmatched. He taught me not to get caught up in life's minor details and appreciate how wonderful life really is, that it's all too short, that it's precious, that just living life is a gift. I lost my father tragically to cancer during the end of my first year at McMaster. He was a proud firefighter right here in Hamilton for almost 30 years, and he died at the young age of 55. Ontario's Workplace Safety and Insurance Board denied my dad's death was a result of his job. So I lobbied the Ontario government to right this wrong. And in 2007, the Premier acknowledged my father's death as inspiration for a new law which recognizes 8 types of cancers as occupational diseases for firefighters. Thank you very much. I take modest consolation in knowing that what my dad went through led to positive change and justice for other families right across our great province. We fought for what we knew was right, and in the end we were recognized because the truth was on our side. It taught me that if you want to make a difference, you have to look at things differently. Mahatma Gandhi said it best, "You must be the change you wish to see in the world." Friends, today we join an impressive list of accomplished and esteemed members of society who have graduated in social sciences from McMaster. Graduates like Tommy Douglas, class of 1933, who was labeled our greatest Canadian. It's clear looking back that Mr. Douglas did not become a product of his environment. As the founder of the Canadian healthcare system as we know it, he made his environment a product of what he believed in. He fought for what he knew was right, and millions of Canadians, past and present, coast to coast, are forever grateful to Tommy for having the passion, persistence, and perseverance to never give up. And most of all, he got it done. We could all be a little more like Tommy. So in this special moment, we pause and reflect on our McMaster experience. But tomorrow, we will go out and act on it. Because if you can do this, you can do anything. Make no mistake, our future is not inevitable. It's shaped by the decisions we make each and every day. The future is about choices. So today, I ask that you choose wisely and look at things a little differently. In the words of Dr. Wayne Dyer, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. It is our duty and our obligation to use what we've learned to better ourselves, our community, our country, and indeed our world. Those from the past expect us to protect what they created and fought for, and those in the future are depending on us to leave them with something worthy of defending. As I take a look at the world today, one thing is clear. I know that we can do better. So let's do it. An inclusive, compassionate, fair and just society is one that's worth fighting for. It must be our hope, our expectation, and our mission. Because as the late, great American Senator Ted Kennedy said, "The work goes on, the cause endures, the hope still lives, and the dream shall never die." Congratulations to the graduating class of 2011. Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Roy Kane, Acting Dean of Social Sciences, and it's my pleasure this afternoon to present the R.C. McIver Medal. The R.C. McIver Medal was established in 1982 by the Faculty of Social Sciences in recognition of Professor R.C. McIver, a former Dean of the faculty, for his outstanding contributions to the faculty and the university during his 35 years of service. The medal is awarded to a graduating student who is judged to be the outstanding member of the class of Social Sciences graduates. This year's recipient of the R.C. McIver Medal is Matthew Lubanovic. Matthew is graduating this afternoon with distinction in economics, an honors degree in economics. He says he got hooked in economics in his first year at McMaster. He credits his outstanding economics professors for inspiring him, for challenging him, and for opening his eyes to the many facets of economics as a social science through their engaging lectures, their passion for the field, their encouragement and support. Matthew has indeed shown outstanding and a distinguished academic achievement and is a most worthy recipient of these awards and will be beginning his medical degree in the fall. Matthew, please come up so that the Chancellor can present you with the R.C. McIver Medal.
Congratulations, Matthew. Dr. McIver was one of my professors when I was a student here, and he was a great man. You should be very proud of that.
Thank you.
All the best. Stay on. Don't go away.
We've asked Matthew not to leave the stage just yet because I'm delighted to announce that he's also the recipient of the Hurd Medal. The Hurd Medal was established in 1955 by Donald W. Hurd, class of '49, in memory of his father, Dean William Burton Hurd, and was then augmented in 2003 in his memory by his wife, Alice Hurd. This medal is awarded to a student at graduation for distinguished achievement in an honors program in which economics is a major field of study.
Congratulations, Matthew. And you're going to become a doctor? Good luck.
Now I call upon our President, Dr. Patrick Dean, who will present the President's Award of Excellence in Student Leadership.
Brennan Ruring, please come forward. Hey, Brennan. An exceptional student in McMaster's kinesiology and psychology programs, Brennan Ruring has consistently displayed leadership and management abilities that put her in the top rank of Mac undergrads. The winner of the Albert Lager Prize for Student Initiative, she served as a student representative on McMaster's United Way campaign, playing an instrumental role in finding innovative ways to help reach the university's United Way fundraising goal. She has also served as a volunteer on the McMaster Alumni Association's Student Relations Committee, where she helped execute events such as Homecoming, Frost Week, and the Student Leader Dinner. She continued her engagement with alumni and philanthropic issues through her volunteer role with the Senior Class Gift Committee. Brennan was involved with Smiling Over Sickness, SOS, for a number of years, eventually becoming co-president in 2009. And that year, SOS reached an all-time high in membership. That same year, she was the coordinator of the Fundraising Initiative Team, or FIT, and there too, she guided the organization to new highs, this time with a record number of students, raising more than $60,000 for Shinorama. Brennan has also volunteered with the McMaster Student Union's Sponsorships and Donations Committee and with Mac Wheelers, an organization assisting individuals with spinal cord injuries. She served as a leadership developer for the Horizons Leadership Conference, where she helped integrate first-year students into the McMaster student community, and she has spent time as both a Welcome Week representative for the Maroons and a residence ambassador with the Student Recruitment Office. Please join me in congratulating Brennan Ruring. Hey, Brennan. Wonderful achievement.
Ladies and gentlemen, the students walked into this room as graduands. Their degrees have been conferred, so they are now graduates and alumni of McMaster University. To welcome them to this new status, I invite Karen McQuigg, a representative of the McMaster Alumni Association, to deliver the Alumni Association address.
Chancellor Wilson, President Dean, McMaster faculty, fellow alumni, honored guests, and members of the McMaster class of 2011, with a special hello to Brennan. Congratulations. As the director of the alumni program at McMaster, and on behalf of Bill McLean, our McMaster Alumni Association president, I have the privilege today of representing the Mac alumni family, a family that will have grown by over 5,000 this spring. The 147,000 members of the McMaster Alumni Association are an unconventional family. We don't expect invitations to your birthday, and we won't ask you to help us move furniture. Instead, we are united by common experiences and shared McMaster pride. We are proud when Ivan Reitman, class of 1969, is nominated for a Best Picture Oscar. When Julie Angus, class of 1997, becomes the first woman to row across the Atlantic Ocean. Or when Stephen Elop, class of 1986, becomes CEO of Nokia. And most importantly, your fellow alumni take pride in you. In 2009, your Alumni Association surveyed Mac grads and found that pride in our alma mater and our fellow alumni is exceptionally high. The reasons for that pride are numerous and as individual as our graduates. If you do need some external validation, though, just remember McMaster is one of only 4 universities in Canada that is ranked within the top 100 universities in the world. So go ahead, brag about earning your degree at Mac. You are well justified in doing so. I encourage you to exercise that pride by staying connected to McMaster. Read your alumni magazine, follow the association on email, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. Become a mentor, participate in an event. Take advantage of the preferred rates offered to alumni through our affinity programs. Become a donor or volunteer for MAC. And perhaps one day you will be in the same seat as our Chancellor, Dr. Wilson, a graduate of the class of 1962, who has continued his active association with McMaster for almost 50 years since his graduation. There is a place for all of you in the McMaster Alumni Association. You may be an occasional event participant or a leadership volunteer, but as you take your McMaster experiences into the years and decades ahead, remember that you are all ambassadors and advocates of your alma mater. Your achievements are the best advertisement for the value of a McMaster degree. Today, we celebrate your success as students and toast the promise of your bright futures as alumni. Your fellow Mac grads are very proud of you already. We offer you our most sincere congratulations and a very warm welcome to the McMaster alumni family.
Now I invite Dr. Dean back to the podium to deliver the President's address.
Mr. Chancellor, Madam Provost, Dean Kane, Dr. Martin, distinguished faculty, graduating students, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor to come to the podium after so much wisdom has been spoken from this place by our honorary degree recipient and the valedictorian, I must say. But I have some thoughts not unrelated to those you have heard from them. Within the walls of this auditorium today, graduates, you are both in and out of time, and the medieval rituals in which we've all been engaged drive home that message. For now, for this few hours, your past is concluded and your future is not yet demanding attention. You can bask in the pleasure of your achievement, in the fellowship of your classmates and friends, and in the adoration or perhaps even the relief of your parents and family. So my warmest congratulations for all you've done. Convocation, as you've heard, is a gathering of the university family, and with the ceremony today, we welcome you permanently into membership of that family. And in that respect, this event is not unlike a wedding. And the thought prompts me to remark a little further. In case you hadn't noticed, since your arrival at the university, we've in fact only been engaged. The results of your final examinations have provided good evidence of a long-term match. So today we've tied the knot which binds you to McMaster forever. It's a frightening thought. So that word forever, you notice I find myself again looking into the future. So much for being both in and out of time. One can't resist the forward gaze. The future awaits. And as Nathan said, you must go from here and meet it. Or perhaps it's even better to say that for each of you, there is a future awaiting. And it's for you to go forth and make it. That rewording is important because my theme today is not that your future is predetermined, but rather that when you leave this hall, you will each be agents in history, relatively free, with the power to shape both your own destiny, the destiny of your nation, and the destiny of our planet. If you're able to find within yourselves the will to do that, and I expect you shall do so in one way or another, the real question to be answered must be how. Not by what practical means, but in what spirit you will approach the world. Now, I could try your patience and push again at this wedding analogy. You'll know that in certain forms of the wedding service, couples are advised to enter into the marriage in a particular spirit, not unadvisedly, lightly, or wantonly, but reverently, discreetly, advisedly, and soberly. Perhaps good guidance for graduates as well. The graduates of this fine university, in taking up their agency in the world, do have responsibilities that must be discharged. With the privilege of higher education, and in particular a McMaster education, comes the expectation that your future actions will redound to the benefit of those less privileged, of humanity at large, and through all of that, to the credit of your alma mater. The future which you make for yourselves is ours also. So in what spirit should you approach that future? On occasions like this, people like myself are sometimes given to hyperbole. Think, for example, at the Oscars. What do you say when you come onto the stage to accept an Academy Award? We all know the speech, we've heard it many times, and it runs something like this. I want everyone to know that if you just want something hard enough, and if you work for it hard enough, you will succeed. When Christina Aguilera did the same speech at the Grammys, she ended by saying, "Well, look at me, here I am." There's a version of the same speech, not infrequently given from the convocation stage, and I would certainly applaud its positive message. It is certainly true that in some cases, sheer disciplined determination does bring success, but certainly not always, despite what young actors would claim. So today, I want to recommend to you the virtue of a different kind of self-discipline. And it's possible that it won't reverberate for you quite so well today, when you all feel, as is your right, like queens and kings of the world. But I hope that in time you will come to understand better its importance. I was recently in Beijing to attend a World Summit of University Presidents, part of which was a special discussion focusing on the issue of the universities and social responsibility. On show, there were, as you can imagine, many different understandings of what we mean by that phrase, social responsibility. But one intervention in particular has stayed with me in the weeks since my return, and this came from Dr. Junichi Hamada, president of Tokyo University, who indicated that in the days since the earthquake and tsunami devastated the northeastern part of his country, Japan and Japanese society has markedly lost confidence in science and technology. And in consequence, a gap has opened up between the universities and the public at large, where once the two were joined in a relationship of optimism, confidence, and high aspirations, there is now skepticism and doubt. Now, in part, this news was easy to understand and not at all surprising. The failure of engineers and scientists successfully to contain the crisis at the Fukushima nuclear power plant was bound to provoke a collapse of confidence of some sort. And as the days have turned into weeks, and prior assurances about the safety of people living in close proximity to the plant have been shown to be unfounded, cynicism has proliferated. But still, I found myself wondering why the fact of the earthquake and the tsunami themselves should affect public confidence in the universities and in science. After all, while it is true that scientists may be able on rare occasions to predict disasters and quite commonly to advise on preparing for them, it remains the case that science, however broadly construed, can no more prevent natural disasters occurring than Canute, the Danish king of England, could successfully command the tide to halt and not wet his feet and robes. I'm sure most of you know the story. It's a famous one of this king who placed his throne on the beach and, as the popular account goes, asserted his power by commanding the sea to hold back and not to wet his feet. That's the common conception of the story, but it's in fact frequently misunderstood. As I say, in our modern age, Canute is usually cited as an example of early Western megalomania. Apparently what we know, namely that the seas and other natural phenomena will listen to no man, he did not know, being drunk on power and deluded perhaps by religious superstition. So the popular version goes. But if you read the one extant, more or less contemporary account of Canute's encounter with the sea, and this is in the Chronicle of the 12th century by Henry of Huntingdon, the story is very different. The point of Canute's actions is not to assert his own blind will, but it is to remind his courtiers and clerics of nothing less than the limitations of human knowledge and of human power. In that account, once his feet are thoroughly wet and he has made his point, he takes off and hangs up his crown in an admission of the limitations of worldly power. The moral of the story, told 800 years ago, is that there are indeed very significant limitations to the human ability to achieve, and that in some contexts our desires and aspirations, as well as our technology, can be irrelevant. At the conference in Beijing, I wondered whether the public disillusionment of which Dr. Hamada spoke was not in some way connected to or perhaps nurtured by the extravagance with which universities themselves occasionally frame their aspirations, making claims to an unrealistic level of influence and effectiveness. What happened to King Canute on the beach was natural and expected. It would happen to any of us. It could only have been cause for humiliation and embarrassment if he had previously asserted that he could make the sea concede to his will. I'm not suggesting that science in Japan, or anywhere else for that matter, is subject to the level of self-delusion embodied in the popular conception of Canute. But I am wanting to sound a warning to you, to reject the false certainties and the spurious confidence in progress, which is one of the defining attributes of our time. I notice that Dr. Hamada has posted now on the web a very fine essay on his university and its public and social responsibility. And there he makes claims with which I would certainly agree, namely that in our turbulent and changing age, the Academy is expected to sketch the outline of a new and better form of society and to mark the path to reach that goal. I think that is a proper ambition. And if you were to read the essay, you would notice that it is expressed in terms appropriately modest in a post-Fukushima context. There are no grand claims for the ability of science and knowledge to conquer all challenges. It has to be noted, nevertheless, that Dr. Hamada expresses the aspirations of the Academy through a linear metaphor. We're on a path, he tells us, which must lead somewhere, and the presumption we're invited to make is that where it leads will in some sense be better than where we are at present. This kind of thinking used to be called evolutionary meliorism, because it assumed that we are always in the process of becoming better than we were, of being more powerful, more insightful, more in command of nature and its intractable forces, better as a society. Is such a meliorist spirit the kind with which you should approach your future? Optimism certainly has its place, as I said, an important place in building our culture and society, in underwriting scientific speculation and investigation, in driving forward to solve the problems of humanity, inequity, injustice, through research and humanitarian work. There's undoubtedly truth in what the young actor says when he asserts that if you believe in yourself or a cause, anything is possible. But it is only a partial truth, and a sentimental one at that. On an occasion like this, as you celebrate what you have achieved, what you know and what you can do, it is important to hold yourself to the discipline of acknowledging what you don't know, what you may not be able to do, and the possibility that some achievements may remain forever beyond your grasp. Why is this important? We habitually talk as if the great achievements of humankind were all the result of determination, resolve, and the single-minded pursuit of an idea. Even if that is true, there is a countervailing point, and that point is that single-mindedness lies also at the base of our greatest man-made tragedies. And that is why skepticism and doubt must go with you into your futures. To illustrate in conclusion, I'd like to recall the late Jacob Bronowski, a mathematician, biologist, and historian of science, who in a famous television series which was aired in 1973, bent down to lift from a pond at Auschwitz a wet handful of the ashes of the Holocaust dead, alluding thereby to this great, great man-made tragedy of the mid-20th century. And this is what he said: "Science is a very human form of knowledge. We're always at the brink of the known. We always feel forward for what is to be hoped. Every judgment in science stands on the edge of error and is personal. Science is a tribute to what we can know, although we are fallible." And he ends by quoting the words of Oliver Cromwell, who addressed the Scottish Parliament as follows: "I beseech you in the bowels of Christ, think it possible that you may be mistaken." Take note of Bronowski's first assertion: science is a very human form of knowledge. The essence of all human activity is that it stands on the edge of error. It is limited, personal, partial, potentially mistaken. And lest we imagine that only scientists are prone to think themselves, their opinions, and their hypotheses infallible, pause to consider the number of social theorists, artists, writers, and musicians who have held and acted upon inflexible, repugnant, and inhumane views. Remember the anti-Semitic ramblings of the poet Ezra Pound, the philosopher Martin Heidegger's statements on the inner truth and greatness of Nazism from the mid-1930s, the case of Richard Strauss, described by Thomas Mann as a Hitlerian composer. And remember furthermore, as an example of the contradictoriness of human nature, that Adolf Hitler himself was both a monster and an avid painter of landscapes. Of the same mind as Oliver Cromwell, Sir Lawrence van der Post wrote not so long ago that human beings are never more frightening than when they are convinced beyond doubt that they are right. The university exists not only to foster the finding of new knowledge or the creation of new art, music, or literature, or new conceptions of society. Its purpose is also to help us understand these things as products of the fallible human mind and imagination, and through them to grasp what it means to be human, standing always in history and on the edge of error. Graduates, your future must be a triumph not of the personal will, but of humane wisdom. And in that spirit, I congratulate you all. I wish you well, and I commend you to the years ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President Dean, for a wise and inspirational set of remarks. And thank you, Nathan, for your forthright, enthusiastic valedictory address. I wondered, Dr. Martin, whether there might not be a place for a young man like that in the Liberal Party of Canada. You might take on. Let me add my congratulations to all the graduates, and again to our honorary degree recipient. I realize that I'm all that stands between you on a beautiful afternoon and some refreshments and some reunions with your friends and family. I would like to, just before I leave, say a word of thanks on your behalf to those involved in this ceremony behind the scenes. A lot of effort goes into making this what it is, and on your behalf, I'd just like to say thank you to all those who make that happen. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, immediately following the convocation, a reception will be held for the graduates and their guests in Hamilton Convention Center, Wentworth Rooms B and C. Flowers that have been delivered for graduates will be available at the coat check in the main lobby. I'd ask you to please remain standing at your seats until the academic procession and the graduates have left the hall. And I'd ask you now to please rise and join with me in the singing of our national anthem. After the singing of the anthem, this convocation stands adjourned.